In the 20 years of Crossroads Fellowship, there have been many stories. Not of fiction, but real accounts of life. Real people's lives. Your lives. These are those stories.
But I had this death grip on that addiction, because it was like that was my identity, that was my joy, that was my passion. It was everything to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to live without it. I'm Derrick Baker, and this is my story.
Well, if you can't tell, I'm a mailman.
All right, would you state your full name for the record?
Derrick Donald Baker, Alexandria, Tennessee, born and raised. I like long walks on the beach and moonlit.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know old Derrick. I tell you what, he crazy. He crazier than a rabid raccoon on a roller coaster. I tell you that.
Something. I don't know.
So Derrick, you are Derrick Baker of the Alexandria Bakers, correct?
That is true. Yes, that is true.
Your family owned a grocery store there, right?
Yep, about 20 years or so, we owned a grocery store. Yeah, while I was growing up, they got it when I was like 5. That was my life growing up. My granddaddy was the mailman, so he knew everybody, and then everybody knew us from the store, so I just was kind of the community kid. Everybody knew me. And
now, we've had a lot of fun together over the years, doing different videos. Where'd all these characters come from?
Oh, I know old Derrick. He like old John the Baptist. You know that one that was out there in the wilderness and eating bugs and stuff like that? Yeah, he crazy. He like that. I hear he's got one of the world's largest Beanie Baby collections. I mean, crazy. But, yeah, I don't know. But he loves him some Jesus.
you know, Judd came up where I had these Billy Bob teeth that I'd had for a long time. They were in a box. And I was like, man, I know. I'll get those teeth out and I'll just do something silly with them, you know. And I went to Trace Diaz that weekend to serve, and I was like, hey, I can do something with these. And
the first time you ever went up and did Judd.
Yeah.
It was my first time as a spiritual director, and I had the talk right after.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
You killed it. You cracked me up so hard, and I had to go on and preach.
I was terrified. When I got done, I actually had to ask somebody, did they laugh? Like I was like so zero focused, because that's the first time I'd ever really got up.
You're a man of many talents. People may not know. Like, if this mail carrier thing doesn't work out, you could probably do some circus work.
Oh, yeah. I have so many useless talents.
If the United States Postal Service goes under, you can always join the circus.
Every time the Lebanon Fair comes through, I'm like, man, what would life be like as a carny?
What could have been?
Yeah.
Now, you've also played Jesus many times.
Yeah.
Right?
I had longer hair at the time, and then they were like, hey, you would be a good Jesus, because the normal guy couldn't do it. And I was like, sure, why not?
You're probably the most humble mailman playing Jesus out there.
Seriously, I tell people that all the time. I'm like, you ain't gonna meet nobody no humbler than me.
So the most humble letter carrier mailman out there. That's what Hugh Midget says, letter carrier. I don't know if that's a real term.
I'm a mailman.
You're a mailman.
Yeah,
right?
see, he's woke. I'm not. I don't.
Yeah. I've talked to Hugh a few times and thought that dude's woke.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. A little progressive.
I've been a mailman for about 15 years now. You know, even though you're running the same route every day, you still get to see different people every day, because not everybody's out at the mailbox all the time. So I love it. You get a personal relationship over the years with people, man. It's like I know these people and they know me, and you know, for Christmas, I give them Christmas cards and pictures of my family so that they can see how my family's progressing, and they just, you know, people just love that. They love having that personal relationship. So, you know, I've actually grown with some of the elderly people that really don't have anybody, and they can't have anybody to help, but at the same time, they're by themselves, and they don't really want no people to know they're by themselves. But, you know, over the years, I've gotten to know them, and I've gotten to be able to talk to them, and they're opening up to me, and they're allowing me to be able to bless them. And, you know, I've been cleaning people's yards and cutting trees and just taking their mail to the door. There's some people I just talk to them on the phone. They don't get out of the house, and I give them my phone number, and they'll call me, and we'll talk, and, you know, that just means a lot to them.
You get to have a personal relationship with people. If somebody gives you a Christmas present, and by the way, give your mail carriers a Christmas present. It makes a big difference on whether your package gets put on your porch or by your mailbox when it's late, when it's raining.
Why does my box always end up in the rain?
Yeah, because you don't get no Christmas present.
So tell me about your early time with church, and what that was like.
So when I was always had to go to church. When I was in 3rd grade, I always sat on the back of the bus because I always sat with the high schoolers, you know. You know, when you sit on the back of the bus with the high schoolers, you learn how to cuss and you learn how to do all these things. So I got to see and hear a lot of things growing up that I shouldn't have, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, by the time I was in 3rd grade, I'm cussing like it ain't nobody's business. And kid across the street, his parents were the pastors of the other church up on the hill. And we're out there playing in his yard and I'm cussing and everything. And he said, you know, God don't like that. And I was like, yeah, I know. Because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I know. And he was like, you need to ask God to forgive you. And I was like, you know what, you're right. You know, I was probably, I don't know, 8 or 7, 8, 9, something like that. And I remember sitting down at his swing set and, you know, the rubber swings, and I put my elbows in the swing and I just started praying. And I remember just calling out to Jesus and God and saying, I'm so sorry, you know. And I remember that feeling of like, I felt different, and I was little, you know, and nobody was around.
And you had a genuine experience with the Lord at that moment. You were genuinely repentant of what you had done.
Yeah.
So you had that, you know, this relationship with the Lord when you're young. You go to church with your family, but by the time you get to your teen years, things start to shift.
When I was 16, I started, you know, hanging out with the people that I could to go hunt down some beer and stuff, and I kind of started drinking, and it got a hold of me. The alcohol just really kicked in, and then it got to where that was my mission.
Yeah.
That was my mission, was to try to find beer.
Yeah.
By the time I was like 18 or 19, I was drinking every night pretty much.
So it moves from, hey, I want to be cool, I want to be accepted, I want to experience life, and I want people to like me, I want people to want to hang out with me. And then a couple years later, full-fledged.
Oh yeah.
I'm addicted to alcohol.
Oh yeah. Which at the
19
time,
years old.
Yeah, I didn't think that at the time.
Right, you wouldn't have said that
Oh
at the
yeah,
time.
no. I thought, you know, it's obviously I can quit anytime I want to.
Yeah,
I'm just
it's
enjoying
just fun.
I'm just enjoying myself, you know, it's all good. You know, and then it turns into, okay, now I'm graduating high school. What are you going to do? Well, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So it's like, well, everybody goes to college, I guess. So I guess I better go to college. And I was miserable. I hated it. I was like in the worst state of depression because I hated homework. I hated school. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what direction to go in. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know anything. So the only thing that gave me any kind of joy and release was alcohol. So it
was the medication.
Yeah, I was using that. Yeah, I was using. I thought that the alcohol was what was getting me through, but the problem was the alcohol. I'd get up, I'd be hungover. I couldn't focus. When I would get out of school, instead of doing homework, I was more focused on going and getting drunk. You know, so I ended up, I never did really, I got through several years of college, but I never did get a degree or anything.
Now most people will think, well, I'll grow out of it.
Yeah.
Right? Well, when I graduate, or when I get my first job, or when I get married, or when I have kids. And the reality in your life and so many others is that wasn't true.
I'd got to that point where sometimes I would get mad, and it's like, I don't want to drink anymore. I'm done. I don't want to do this. And I would pray, and I was like, you know, because Jesus was still, he was still there. God was there, but he wasn't. He would talk to me, but he wasn't really blessing me as much as I could have been getting blessed. Because every time I would go to God, and I'm like, what do I do? Why is this happening to me? I don't want to do this anymore. What do I need to do? And I could clearly hear him telling me in my head, you know, quit drinking. And it's like,
lay it down.
I'm not going to do that.
That was the one thing you couldn't
I
lay down.
didn't know how to cope without it. I don't know how to live without it. And I honestly never really felt really convicted really bad until we started coming to church here. And all the time, I'd always felt like if I died, I would go to heaven. I did. I felt that. And then
salvation.
All of a sudden, it's like at one time I was sitting here and Gary said, you know, if you don't know for a doubt that you're going, and for some reason that moment I felt like, am I really going to go to heaven if I die? Because I know God's telling me you need to quit drinking, and I'm telling God I don't want to.
You know you're walking in disobedience.
I know. I was like, I felt so convicted, and it's like, okay, I need to change something. I need to do better.
Yeah.
So everybody's talking about trace this. Gary, man, he's like, you gonna go trace this? I was like, no, basically run out of excuses. He's like, he's got to the point where he would say,
I've used everything I had.
He's like, you gonna go? Finally, it was like, okay, I run out of excuses. Okay, I'll go. So I'm there. I'm at trace this. I'm thinking, I don't want to quit, but I know I need to change. I know something needs to change. So I'm thinking it'll help. It can't hurt. I don't have no problem with being around Christians for 3 days. I don't have no problem with that.
Right.
And it was like I had this alcohol, and it was like I kept going, God, take it. Just take it, God. And it finally got to the point to where I finally went, take it.
Yeah.
Then he took it. But I had this death grip on that addiction, because it was like that was my identity, that was my joy, that was my passion. It was everything to me.
Yeah.
All I had to do was go, if you'll take it, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
And that was it. I've not had a drink since then.
Wow, that's amazing, man. That's a beautiful picture of surrender.
Yeah.
You had it so tight in your hand, begging for God to take it away, yet you had literally a death grip. The wages of sin is death, right? You had a death grip on that thing, and finally you said, all right, Lord, I surrender. It's yours. Open hands. You take it. And that's been over 5 years now, right?
It's been over about 5 years and a month or so.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I got to it was funny because I come back and I would go into a store where I would stop every single day, and I would look at the beer and I would think, that'd be pretty good. But I couldn't imagine myself taking a drink. I couldn't imagine myself even buying it.
I'm a new person.
Yeah.
New creation in Christ. I'm done with that stuff.
Yeah.
Derrick, what would you say to someone watching this they're just stuck in a mode of, I'm a Christian, I grew up a Christian, but I'm just not really living that lifestyle. They haven't really fully laid down everything.
The problem is, you think, I give up, I surrender, but you know when you've truly surrendered.
Heart of hearts, when you're alone.
Because that's what I always thought. I was like, I'm done. I give it up. But I didn't really. I was just in an emotional state. It was until you have to calmly say, you know what? I'm done. I will. I mean, the way I will allow you, God, if you will just do this. That's the craziest thing, is if you really call out to God, He'll answer. You just got to surrender. You've got to give it up. You got to give in. He'll answer your prayer if you ask.
Yeah. Man, thank you for sharing your story with us.